afternoon. It's noon. The February 4th meeting of the Historic Preservation Board is called to order. Joining me today, Rhonda Bourne, Kirk Kuchowski, and Mike Zapata, Linda Anderson. Do we have any requests to speak cards? Then we'll proceed to the first agenda item, which is taking action and approving the minutes of January 21.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The second item for individual consideration.
Ready? Receive a report, hold a discussion, and take action on a request for a certificate of appropriateness to place a wrought iron fence and drinking fountain along the Austin Avenue side of 130 West Woodard to create a patio area. This was case number 2024-058H from last year. This item was tabled at the October 1st HPB meeting. You all requested that the applicant explore other options in design and material. This is at the Driggs Liquor location. Do you have the, thank you. Along the Austin Avenue side, they are wanting to put a wrought iron fence as well as a drinking fountain, if you recall that. At the time, the applicant was not totally sure on which material they were going to use, whether it would be the vertical wrought iron columns or if it was a cable-like material that runs vertically. If you will go on to the next image, thank you. These ones indicate that if you look at the top right image, that is the vertical cable and it's gated. If you look at the left, there is no gate. And I spoke with Mr. Earnhardt asking him what his preference was, and at the time of the phone call, he wasn't sure. So he is not here, and I was hoping he would be here to help explain what they were leaning towards. We did discuss that having a gate might be more beneficial in order to protect dogs or children if people are sitting out there eating. If you recall, a food truck was approved to be at this location, and that was the intention of having the patio area there as well. That was at a council meeting 2 council meetings ago that they approved the CUP for the food truck. So there are just some safety considerations, I think, that need to be taken into consideration. However, this is what has been presented at this time, the one with the gate and the one without the gate. Staff does recommend approval of the gated fence due to the adjacency along Austin Avenue. And like I said, I have expressed this to Mr. Earnhardt.
I really like the example in the bottom right, which is what he originally did, which has gates. And not at the historic preservation meeting previously, but at a planning and zoning meeting, I know there was a discussion, fairly lengthy discussion on safety, especially in parking and the location of that.
That's correct.
I think gates would only improve on that. So I like the gated one down the bottom right or the top left with gates.
The bottom left also has a gate in the image.
It does. I can't tell if it's, it looks like it's the vertical bars.
It
Can't
is.
tell. Because the other concern is, you know, a feeling of safety or something like that. Cables look really neat, especially inside a house, but again, for the historic preservation part of the city, I like the vertical bars. I don't know, you're right across from it.
Yeah, I'd rather see when we see like over here at the bottom right that you're talking about, that from a safety perspective, and I don't know if it's valid or not, but it seems like metal bars would be a little more safe than just a cable strung across the side. But I like the look of the iron fence more personally.
Just an education question. Does the swing on those gates need to be out like they would doors?
Or in.
That
question.
would be,
There's no preference on those.
No egress ordinance on that? Thank you.
I would prefer it swing both ways if possible.
I believe it's on both ends.
So, what it looks like to me is we have the opportunity to approve one of his, to include a gate unless he wants to come back to us.
That's correct.
Is there a way to put in this to make sure that, because they're asking for a water fountain?
Mhm.
And in other cities that I've worked in, we've had something similar where they operated at first and then they didn't operate and they just were left in that condition. Is there a way to require them to make sure that it's operational?
Not in HP, no.
Okay.
No, and in fact, the fence was the only portion, I believe, that was tabled from last meeting, not the fountain was never in question.
Any further comments? Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the certificate of appropriateness to place a wrought iron fence with gates on both ends along the Austin Avenue side of 130 West Woodard.
Could we clarify with vertical or horizontal?
Certainly, a vertical wrought iron fence with gates along the Austin Avenue side of 130 West Woodard.
Motion made by Mr. Jakowski, seconded by Ms. Bourne. All in favor?
Aye.
Next item.
Thank you. Receive a report, hold a discussion, and take action on a request for a certificate of appropriateness for infill construction at 317 West Main Street.
I'm recusing myself.
Can you represent him?
I'd prefer not.
Okay.
Thank you. This item was tabled from the January 21st HPB meeting, at which time the board requested a new rendering that they felt was more appropriate with decorative elements as well as a brick facade rather than stucco. The applicant has met those requests and is seeking approval for the two-story brick building that will have the retail uses on the first floor as well as the residential uses on the second floor. The 7-foot setback will remain. The only thing that is changing are the decorative elements. If you look at the lighting fixtures, the brick facade, as well as the changes to the windows. They were black before, the frames and the doors, and now they appear to be a cream-like color. So that is a little different. But there's some more detail in the brickwork and the courses above, and there's black coping at the very top. So this is what was submitted per your suggestions last time, so I will be interested to hear what you all have to say.
Well, first of all, it's certainly a tremendous improvement. The roll locks and the front, I think, are within the historic time period. The thing that I was going to talk to him about, similar to his building at 501 on the retail first floor, it is traditional to have a bulkhead. And this looks like those are windows all the way down.
Mm-hmm.
So I would ask him to change that to bulkheads. Secondly, as you know, we normally bring colors in and talk about colors. And so I would want to know what the trim colors would be.
Would you be comfortable making that recommendation for the bulkhead and approving the facade with the brick and then asking him to come back for the paint color of the trim?
I could, and I might even be amenable to accepting a paint color that is on the
Palette.
suggested palette.
Okay. I think that would give them the ability to move forward and get started, but we know that that portion won't be going in anytime soon, so there's still time for him to come back with that.
Now, I'm not quite sure about the basket weave cage over the lights. I don't know. This is where my architecture education is not very good at all. I don't know if that is standard.
I think it gives that, it gives some of the detail that, I think that was just artistic freedom, right? When asking for other details, potentially.
Because certainly the gooseneck lamp or even the coach lamps would be traditional. I just don't know about the, same thing with the three steel grates in the upper, above the second floor. I'm not sure how I would address it if he's not here, is all. So would it be possible to give a conditional one, approving the facade under the condition that a bulkhead appears, a color for the trim according to, based on an approved palette, I should say a recommended palette, and then come back and talk to us a little bit more about this basket weaves on the lamps and up on the, above the second floor?
I think that's fine, if that's what you'd like to do.
I'm now asking my partners here.
I definitely think it's an improvement. I have no issues with your concerns. I think they're valid.
Are they important, though?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think it's part of the integrity of the downtown. I think we would like a consistent, somewhat consistent appearance, and if that helps it to be that way, then I would support that.
I too would be curious if there are, and Mary, you're an expert, if there are historical precedents for that sort of basket weave brick. But I think it is absolutely an improvement in every way. And I'm perfectly comfortable with my peers, including in the motion, something to the effect of coming back to us with renderings that would further define those elements. Is that what you had in mind?
Actually, from what you just said, opened my eyes. I'm on the road to Tarsus here. The brickwork behind the lamps is a brick pattern,
Right,
and I don't have a problem with that at all.
yes, did you, yeah,
I
it
don't
is a
have-
brick pattern.
Yeah, it's the steel grate up there above the second floor that I
And you're talking about just on, it's on the, over the brick, the steel
Correct.
grate.
correct.
On those three,
Yeah,
We
The
don't have
squares.
really any idea what that looks like, do we?
no. I mean, I love the Rolock courses of brick in the middle, on the top,
I
and
do
at the
too.
very top.
I do too.
I just don't know what the steel grating is for.
so I found that, to me, the way I interpreted that was that the pattern under the steel grating was brick, and then it would just be a decorative element over top of it.
Superimposed on the brick all the
Right.
way across without a brick pattern.
Just on top of the inlaid brick
Right,
in the middle of the square. That's where the arrow's pointing to that,
Yeah, I
where
think
the
so.
X is. My guess is it's to carry the black from the coach lamp up to the top of the column to connect it.
Yeah, it's the only thing I'm thinking, from the lamps to the railing to
Yeah.
the top.
I think it adds some, makes it interesting a little bit.
Certainly adds architectural interest.
And ties the black coping from top to bottom then.
I'm very appreciative of all the detail in the brickwork. I mean, that's really responsive to what we ask to have returned to us, and I'm very appreciative of that. Mr. Kowski, do you know how your motion would be worded?
I'm trying to, I think I do. I just don't know. I don't know, Mike, what do you think? Is the now it's just a black rating at the top. Is that enough to say,
I
no, it's
mean,
not historical?
I think,
it's not really-
well, and I think it's an effort to present something more decorative,
Yeah.
which I think is
Yeah.
commendable for them to do that for us, just because of our request. So I am, I like this elevation look better than what they brought in before.
Yeah. I like it a lot more,
Many times, yeah.
much more. And I think I can, I think it would be a very beautiful building, as a matter of fact. So I guess my motion would be around to accept this with the conditions of a bulkhead on the main floor retail section and trim color being from our recommended palette.
You're okay with the lights then?
I think so.
Okay.
I think coach lamps would work. I did not. Not yet.
Is there a motion?
Are you happy with that?
I am happy with that.
Then yes, I would move to approve the certificate of appropriateness for the infill construction at 317 West Main Street with the condition that the main floor retail section have a standard bulkhead, as is historically appropriate, and the trim color be from our approved palette.
And are we then requesting that those drawings come back to us, or do we give staff the wherewithal to carry on with that?
I would give staff that.
Yeah.
Do you want, you're okay with me approving the bulkheads and the color palette then?
Yes.
Okay.
So the motion somehow, Ms. Avery could include that. Thank you.
I'd second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Well done.
I mean, that's what you're paid for, right?
Okay. Our last
Next item.
Our last item for individual consideration is receive a report, hold a discussion, and take action on a request for a certificate of appropriateness to construct a new stage and green room at Heritage Park, case number 2025-009H. I'm sure you've all noticed that Heritage Park is under construction. At this point, this is a city request. The city is taking on this project as part of the D3 Phase 2 project. On your screen, you can see the progression from 2008 at those two top photos, and then 2023 below. And the design has been approved and made public at this point in time, and we are requesting that you all take a look at just the stage and the green room, which is the red brick building to the right of the stage. It has aspects and features of, it's supposed to be reminiscent of a railroad turn roundhouse. So the tracks down the middle of the grass would be where the train turns around, and the archways in the brick building are significant of the tunnels and things like that. The stage has a brick wall behind the stage, and it is gray brick, and that's to help with the sound barrier and things like that. So for today's request, we are seeking to have approval of the red brick building and then the stage. On top of the green room is that weather station that is to the left. That has lightning protector indicator in there because of all the public space, all the public use that will be taking place. We need to make sure we have that as well as some of the sirens, just in case we have tornadoes or something like that. But Fanchon Stearns is here to address any questions that you may have regarding the design or the use of materials.
Any comments you'd like to make at all?
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Chair and Board. We're really excited about this. Mary spoke to it. It is supposed to be reminiscent of a roundhouse. You can kind of see in the rendering a little bit, you can see kind of the arched brick on that green room. And that is to kind of look like those old roundhouse doorways that the trains would pull into and get lifted and turn around and sent on their way on the other set of tracks. The tracks across the grass, also the stage, the actual like structure above the stage has some of those kind of linear elements to it too. So really trying to create a space that is usable for someone taking a lunch break and you just want to go hang out in the park, but also trying to create something that when we have a larger event and there are street closures, that kind of draws the crowd out into the street so it feels like just one big space.
Ms. Stern, I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
Ms. Stern, there doesn't seem to be much seating. And I do think it would in fact be an attractive place to come and just have a bit of respite from whatever one's day might be, but I only see just a few stationary benches around the edge. And I realize that when events are there, there will be seating, temporary seating set up, but I don't see the place where someone could come and sit and have their lunch.
Sure, and a piece of this, and it's not necessarily shown here, but there will be some like cafe tables and chairs in the area that will kind of just sit out during the day, get packed up when other things are going on.
So those will, like bistro tables, be there.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
I believe that just the landscaping wall, I think, was raised in design, as I recall.
That to be able to sit on it
They were on there for some seating, I mean, just to have, again, for respite sake.
right here. This,
The stage also,
Right.
that was kind of designed with the steps to be just so folks can use it for access, but also just hang out on the steps.
Not to be persnickety or anything, the thing says 2 arches, I see 3 there. I'd love 3 if it's that big. And as a point of historical fact, that big metal thing in the middle is what turns, and then the train backs into the storage/maintenance areas. And that's why I think the nice circles all the way around, reminiscing of a roundhouse. Most roundhouses are only half semicircles, but I'm going way too far. I think it would be nice, even if it doesn't project all the way onto the street the way the original D3 plan talked about.
There will
Still
be
think
some,
it'd be nice.
yeah, there will be some paving elements, like the pavers will kind of be, to help create that
Sunburst type
transition.
stuff.
Yeah, exactly, kind of pull that railroad track theme out into the street, yes, sir.
So we're just talking about the green room, and we don't have to address the weather station on top of
No,
that.
it's just to let you know, yeah.
are there any other questions of Ms. Stern? Comments from the board? I think it looks great. Thank y'all for all your work. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the certificate of appropriateness to construct the new stage and green room at Heritage Park.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Are there any staff updates?
There are. We have some administrative approvals, signage. 627 West Main is a residential property. It's a 4-plex, and they have some just maintenance work that they're doing. One of the items that I spoke to the owner about, they had some cracks by the foundation between the driveway and the foundation, so she asked if she could go ahead and repair that, so I gave her approval for that. On Crawford, yes, thank you, thank you.
So it's more than routine maintenance.
There was routine maintenance, and then nothing is changing to the structure or any of the paint colors or anything like that yet, so I consider it routine maintenance, but she was very concerned with having to come before, not concerned, but wanted to make sure she was following the process.
Good for
So we talked through all of that. Thank you for pointing out my mistake on Crawford. And then the Katy Depot, I guess, retired trains. I don't know what they're called exactly, but they are going to put some historical signage, information only. That is describing what the trains were used for and the history of Denison and things like that. That does not have an address, so that's why it says inactive track by the Katy Depot. So, but you'll see some new signage going up there. Next, I wanted to bring to your attention a proposed ordinance amendment. We are working on the sign ordinance. It's been a great undertaking of Kirk and Diane York and Robert Lay. And so we are pulling out the lighting section for downtown out of the sign ordinance, and we would like to put it into the historic preservation ordinance. This is specifically related to rooftop lighting. Currently, and we had a case come before all of you that says that the lighting can be up for 90 days, the colored. Well, when Kirk and I started discussing it, and Donna, it could be up all year depending on what holiday you're recognizing, right? So we would like to change that from 90 days to 30 days, and that the lighting must be returned to white within 10 days after the holiday, following the holiday. If put up without the COA, there will be a penalty, just like there's a penalty provision for the entire ordinance, so that would fall into that. And then if I am able to administratively approve those color changes. For example, we have a request right now in which they're seeking guidance on whether they can put up colors for Valentine's Day. So I don't see an issue necessarily, but I'd like your feedback on these proposed changes. Because where do you draw the line on what holiday we're recognizing? Or do we? Maybe we don't. So I just need to know how you feel about all of that so that we can put that into the actual amendment. And then secondly, if there are any other items you would like us to look at to amend at this point in time. Typically, if we are opening an ordinance, I'd like to capture as much as we can in those changes. So just looking for your guidance and feedback.
If I could ask, why was it taken out of the sign ordinance and thought to be better placed in because what about lights not in historic commercial
So it
district?
does address that. This is specifically for downtown.
Okay. And it thought it would be better in the historic rather than the sign ordinance, which applies for everything?
So the sign ordinance has a section for downtown, but lights aren't technically a sign.
But the attorneys
They will review it as well.
But they all thought it was better in the downtown one in our chapter.
Yeah,
30.
I haven't taken this to them yet. We don't do that until we put the changes in
The whole
place.
thing.
Yep.
So this permits white lighting for anyone, for any time.
They would have to
Permanently.
still come and
And
get,
then in increments of essentially 40 days, some holiday or event could be celebrated, correct? And I expressed, as did Mr. Kowski just now, the notion that there's a holiday going on somewhere all the time. And I really don't, and clearly somebody's gonna come and ask for the COA, right? So you say, well, gosh, you sure have a lot of holidays. What does one do?
that's what, yeah, that's the whole question.
Who's got
And
the sword for Gordian's knot here? I mean, do we make it general, or do we say,
These are recognized, you can't do that.
well, you could, that would be limiting.
I feel that might violate freedom of speech, and that's where we're going to get.
Putting up lights is speech?
How,
I-
defining a holiday to celebrate or
Yes.
recognize.
Yes.
Well, I don't know. Currently, at the federal level, there are lots of holidays that are being
Taken away.
disincluded.
That is true, but I'm looking for your feedback, not at the federal level right now.
What was that you said about a great politician? Please, don't record that. Gosh,
Right now, you have people that put them up just for the holiday, and
Could you so that they can record it.
Thanks, Donna.
Thank you.
Right now you have some people that just put up lights and they don't have to get anything.
I
They
think,
No, I
I
think
think
they
we're saying is
should.
if there's gonna be lights, that's gonna
They
have to
need
come
to-
for here.
That's correct.
And of course.
No.
fireworks.
Before the ordinance is changed.
Right, so the current situation, Donna, is that somebody could just put up lights.
Right.
And so the ordinance would then say, no, you can't just put up lights.
Right, you have to get a COA. Okay, but then there's people that have come before you that have gotten permission to have them up all year round.
That's correct.
But remind me, you said they had to be clear,
Mm-hmm.
except for the holidays, the 30-day period?
Yes.
Okay.
But, so I think you bring up a good point. Are you then stating that you think they should be allowed to put clear up at any time without a COA?
I think that it will come up multiple times, as it has in the past, that people will want clear lights all year round. I think it's good to have that.
This is rooftop lights?
Yes.
So that means these are lights on the rooftop and not
They're the
front
ones-
around
they're the
window
Thirty-four
ones
frame.
chop
that-
house, 34 chop house, split window.
Like the ones that outline the top of the roof, not sitting on top of the roof.
And not window frames or anything?
Not window
No,
frames,
okay.
no.
Just on the top.
Just the roof line.
Yeah,
Alright.
just the roof
And
line.
individual bulbs strung at
Correct.
sequence, not one of those long lines of
Right.
LED. Do we need to specify that?
I think that is specified, isn't it, in something that we,
Yeah, I think that's, but we would include that here.
just, again, just as we're having discussion, it seems that because we are an arts and entertainment district, there's something about that presentation that is festive and artistic. It is a means of communication or expression, and it is a magnetism. So if we're talking about the bettering of Main Street or creating a magnetism, it just,
Well, and
Again-
safety too. I mean, anything that provides light at night, to me, is a positive
yeah,
for safety.
it's a security
Yeah, the
presentation.
question is for a historic
Yeah.
location, do you want, because LED light's not gonna do anything and everything. I mean, if you walk down or ride down Texovan Parkway and look at Calhoun's or 2.0, and you can see the lights that they have there flashing different colors,
Right.
rotating. So how far down this road do we go? I think what I would almost think about, Mary, is having a ad hoc subcommittee take a look at it, rather than trying to make sausage right here and then report back.
Okay,
And
that's fine.
take a look at the old sign ordinance and
Sounds good. And would this, so this would not merge with the sign ordinance regarding that lighting, only rooftops exclusively? Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
well,
Yep.
that's a good question though,
Mhm.
because like the new George Tavern, did that come here?
That was approved.
Okay.
Mhm.
Boy, I must have been out that day.
You weren't, it was administratively approved because the Katy Depot has the same.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That would have been a tough one to deny.
Mhm.
And I don't think they would have, I would have approved.
But
But
I think
that's
that's
what
a
I
good-
would recommend, is a ad hoc subcommittee.
Okay.
Take a look at the old one and then think about the historic preservation part of it. I know when we had the trip last time, we talked a little bit with the Grapevine folks there and noted the white lights that are
Right.
all downtown there.
Who would you like to lead that subcommittee?
I would participate.
I would too.
Good, because
Okay.
I'm really busy till March.
Subcommittee
I'm really busy till March.
We are, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Got it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I have
You're
another
welcome.
comment, if I may. So, Mike, you mentioned that lights around the windows. I think that should be addressed in your other proposed changes. I've had to ask people to remove those before, and I don't feel like it addresses it in there. So I think we need to be clear.
And I would also add lighted signs on
Yep.
facades.
I think you just consider all forms of lighting as we go
Yeah.
through this.
Good.
Yeah, that would be good.
What about those blow-up things that are lit from inside?
Those are not allowed per the sign ordinance. They
And
haven't.
does it address something like
It
that? Because
does.
we have had them in the
Yeah.
holiday season.
It does address that.
Yeah, I
in
would
the-
take a look at what that says right now and then think,
Not that fluffy thing.
well, the whole thing, the whole aspect.
Yeah.
You
I-
mean,
Yeah,
Rhonda.
the question is, to me, the bottom line question, but I think when we get down to it is, roof line lightings only. I have no problem with white lights like grapevine, but do we let them turn red at Valentine's, green for St. Patrick's Day,
Yes, that is
orange
what
for Thanksgiving?
I'm being asked. And so I do need some guidance to be able to answer that question for the time being until we make some decisions.
So what you're going to get is some people want to use pink for Valentine's and some people want to use red, so it's not consistent. If it were one color consistent, like white or red or green, that would look nice, but if you,
I look forward to
anyway,
your
that
report.
can be discussed in.
And
a
there are also two intensities or colors of clear lighting. And I would want it to specify that it was warm.
So
Oh, wow.
that
I'm
is,
sorry, there are, do you want it to be blue or?
no, but
No.
what I'm getting
That's
at
our
is,
word.
as we were going through the sign ordinance, and staff has no way of measuring,
Lumen.
lumens or candle,
Watt.
yes. So we just need to keep that in mind as well.
Y'all don't have.
Okay, I can see
No.
why they took it out of the sign ordinance.
Well,
Nor the staff to do it, so. But, okay, so we'll have an ad hoc committee, we will get that started, and, what do you feel is a reasonable timeline to have this completed by? I think that gives us a way of working backwards.
Agreed.
St. Patrick's Day, I don't know.
Well, my thought is seasonally. So
Yes.
if we, instead of holiday, perhaps if
Sure.
we do it by spring or give ourselves something, so that,
about-
because people will be outside more, there's walking more, daylight, all of that's
Let's
longer.
aim for May, to
Okay.
have something
You good with that?
come
May-
back. If it's sooner, great, if it's not,
and do you want the two of us to operate independently? Or do you want us to work?
I'm
with-
happy to,
Collectively.
I'm happy to join in.
That would be great if
Yeah.
you would. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, independently of staff.
Correct.
Oh,
But Mary has said that she wants to be with us in this exciting journey.
I think that would be a very good thing, because that
She
would
would bring
put,
a
that
lot
would
of
put
light to
practica-
it. Sorry.
that would bring practicality to it.
Okay.
Maybe
right.
even the poor Main Street director, if she can get out of any other of her meetings, only because
Yes,
she's
she's
gonna have the
shaking.
business.
She's shaking
Folks
her
talking
head,
to her.
yes. So, okay, thank you.
Donna, will you do that with us as well?
I do have a quick question, if I could. So
Okay.
I understand that we're having this conversation, the city's had it, you are asked lots of questions, but have you experienced a complaint? Meaning, I'm offended by someone else's lights, building owners being offended by anything, or passersby having issue with that?
To be honest, I can hardly wait until Hey Sugar goes across the street and
I
they wanna
have
put
not.
their lights up.
I haven't.
I don't like a loft dweller having too much light or anything. I've not experienced
Or
any.
even building, business to business is what I'm also asking too. So loft, you've got, I feel like my concern is manifesting issues with what doesn't perhaps really affect the public, and the public is to whom we are appealing and for whom we work. So that's why I'm asking. So I just wanted to know if besides us talking about what's attractive to the public, if we also have an issue of owner to owner or loft dweller to street, anything like that else that's to consider in our subcommittee meeting here. So that's,
I think that the issue that I have experienced is being fair to everyone. So, interpretation of the law. Like,
sure.
you
Okay.
called me and you asked me the first year if you could put Christmas lights up. And I looked that up and checked, and yes, you could. And you took them down or didn't turn them on anymore. Sometimes that doesn't always happen. And so, they would leave them on longer.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's cumbersome to have to try to monitor that. Like she mentioned, staff time to check lumens. You know, okay, well, what color is it this month? And if it's not clear, then it's probably too long if we're in February and it's still on.
I would also like to add then the cafe lights too. That's a
Right.
different, its own kind of category too, right? Okay.
I think that's a good point.
That's a real good point.
And I would also remind something that the side conversations, have only jurisdiction over the exterior.
That's correct.
So if I was a loft dweller and wanted to put lights on the inside of my window.
Absolutely, and I feel like the same thing with the business owners, that if I have a business, honestly, one of my, I think, super after-hours attraction to see that is cool strand lights inside those windows, not outside like Christmas lights, but as an inside, for my business, and to determine exactly, I always call you anyway to make certain, but I sometimes forget those details and direct people, so.
And not everyone's that diligent.
Yeah.
To
I think
call.
In concept, we're all in violent agreement, exterior versus interior.
That's all we can talk about again.
Good luck with that.
I know.
Is
Any
the
other
city
staff
planning on
updates?
putting out those rooftop lights on their new construction of the greenery?
I don't know.
I actually was, I don't know if that can be brought up here, but I have the same question as far as that as well, but we've talked about it with poor Donna.
One thing about Grapevine that we saw is that the lighting is uniform for the entire town.
So I think that'll be a discussion that we can have as part of the committee.
And I do wonder about things like if that's contributions from the city in order to control that. That's a little different
Oh, no, no,
issue.
no.
Can you direct a
Right.
certain kind, type, or?
That's what I'm saying, that
Company.
contribution, if
Yeah.
it's advantageous in any way to have them there and be uniform, then I would
Well, they
comply.
Grapevine really looked nice that way.
Yeah, it does.
Well, and that's something that we can consider
That we can-
as we come into budget, right?
Yes.
Oh,
There are lots of things that we can
Thank you, Mary.
incorporate. There's one more item,
Yes,
one
ma'am.
more update. Tony did submit, Tony and DDF and DDA, and did submit a COA. However, the silos fall outside of the district, so I did not put it on there, but I did just want to make you aware of the mural you probably all know by now, but just so that it's on record of the mural that will be going on the silos on Crawford. So we will be able to see it from lots of different viewpoints. So, but it is an image of the Battle of the Axe. So just wanted to make you aware of that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Meeting is adjourned at 12:43.